Hello everyone. The topic that I would like to discuss with you today is about the election of Saint John Paul II as a Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. As an introduction, let us continue exploring the life of Karol Wojtyła. This time, he was elected as a Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. As a Pope, he will become the Bishop of Rome and Vicar of Christ of the Universal Church, and many other titles. So Pope John Paul II was the first non-Italian Pope in 455 years. No? So next, it was the year of three popes. So when Saint John Paul II was elected, it was the year of three popes. Why? Because at that time the reigning pope was Pope Paul VI. Unfortunately, he died August 6. So there was this papal conclave, and the Patriarch of Venice, Cardinal Albino Luciani, was elected as a pope and named with papal name as Pope John Paul I on August 26. But this pope reigned only 33 days because he died of a heart attack. So on October 16, Pope John Paul II, Karol Wojtyła, was elected as a pope. So that's why we have in that year of Saint John Paul's election as a pope, there were three popes that reigned. Okay. Now, the papal conclave, we have already provided you with a idea of what is this papal conclave, but for the sake of those who are going to watch this uh, recording, a papal conclave is a gathering of cardinals to elect a new pope as one of their solemn responsibility. So the conclave that elect Pope Paul I successor began on October 14, 1978 and ended 2 days later on October 16 after 8 ballots. The cardinal electors selected Cardinal Karol Joseph Wojtyła, the Archbishop of Krakow, as the new pope. So the accommodations. So what happened during the reception of cardinals during the election? So Gary O'Connor described the sparse living conditions of the cardinal electors in his 2000 book Universal Father, A Life of Pope John Paul II. So this is how they are accommodated. No? The cardinals sleep on a simple infirmary bed borrowed from the College of Propaganda Fide with a red-shaped lamp by the bed, which was too faint uh, to read, by a wash basin, soap made by Dons of Paris and Kleenex, a bucket for slopes, a writing table with note paper and an ashtray, a prie-dieu. So that was the accommodations. Now the proceedings of election and voting. Um, 10 days after the funeral of Pope John Paul I, the world are still surprised during this time. On October 14, the doors of the Sistine Chapel were sealed and the conclave commenced. So the cardinals again, they go back to Rome and elect again a new pope. So inside the conclave were three non-cardinals. So these three non-cardinals were going to assist in the elections, and one was Donald Whirl, who as secretary to the frail Cardinal John Wright was allowed inside the Sistine Chapel to assist him. This conclave had the same number of cardinals as the first conclave of 1978. No? Only Cardinal Albino Luciani himself, who became Pope John Paul I, was absent from this conclave after having attended the first conclave of 1978. And numerically, this was offset by the presence of Cardinal Wright at this conclave. So the Pope John Paul I was replaced by Cardinal John Wright. So, how many electors during this conclave? In total, there were 111 electors present. No? Cardinals over 80 were not allowed to vote. No? The figures vary, but according to one tally, there were 25 from Italy and 30 from the rest of Europe, 19 from Latin America, 12 from North America, 12 from Africa, 9 from Asia, and perhaps from the Philippines we have Cardinal Vidal of the Archdiocese of Cebu, who became the electors of Pope John Paul II, and 4 from Oceania. So the announcement at 6:18 p.m. local time, Rome, Italy. The white smoke rose from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, announcing to the public that a new pope had been elected. So in the Sistine Chapel you will find this chimney. So when the smoke was dark, meaning there was this election, but there was not the cardinals have not yet chosen, or it does not have reached the total number of votes, which is two-thirds. Now at 6 p.m. The smoke becomes white, so it means to say that they have already elected a new pope. So Cardinal Felice made the historic announcement for Pope John Paul II on October 16, 1978 at 7:15 p.m. from the balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square. So the first words and blessings of Pope John Paul II when he appeared on the balcony at 7:15 p.m. while gripping the balustrade, delivered a brief speech. No, he started with expressing their sorrow on the death of Pope John Paul I, and then telling the people that they have called and elected a bishop of Rome from the far east, no, far from the area, but close to the faith and the Christian tradition. So that was, the people were happy accepting him as the new pope and the new bishop of Rome. Now the new papal name, Karol Wojtyła, honored the brief legacy of his predecessor by adopting his new name and becoming Pope John Paul II. So this is the reason why we have the papal name as part of the customary Pope John Paul II, because he wanted to continue what perhaps John Paul I wanted for the church, no? Because Pope John Paul I also had been the first pope to take two names upon his election, because he also adopted the pontifical names of his two predecessors who lead the church to the Second Vatican Council. We have Pope John the 23rd, who opened the Second Vatican Council, and Pope Paul VI, who was overseeing the Second Vatican Council and closes it. Okay. Now, reflections from Cardinal Wojtyła's priest secretary. We have Cardinal Stanislaw Dziwisz, born 1939, who had been serving as priest secretary of Cardinal Wojtyła since 1966, meaning this priest, at that time still a priest, serving to Wojtyła in the Archdiocese of Krakow. So he was, during the election, he was with the growing crowds below in St. Peter's Square awaiting the announcement. This priest, or this cardinal, spoke of his close relationship with the Pope since he became his priest secretary, as I have said, in 12 years prior the election. No? And he said, that day in 1966 I learned to be close to him. I did so for 39 years, first in Krakow and later in Rome. And he said also, he added, my clothes were soiled with his blood on May 13, 1981. So this was the time when the assassination attempt happened to Pope John Paul II, and I have again recalled the words he wrote for Saint Stanislaw, the patron of Poland. If the word does not convert, blood will. I was always close to Karol Wojtyła, me as a priest caressed by a gift and mystery. Do not be afraid. So this is the theme of his pontificate. No? So later that night, Pope John Paul II ate dinner with the cardinals before retiring to handwrite the homily with his famous words, "Be not afraid, open wide the doors to Christ." So I have a. This is what we are going to reflect on this praise. No? Now, memories from one of the cardinal electors. No? In a 2011 interview with Richard Allen Green of CNN, given the year before his death, 89-year-old Cardinal Luis Aponte Martinez, he is the Archbishop Emeritus of San Juan, Puerto Rico, recalled Wojtyła's election as the most emotional moment of his life. So he congratulated for sure Pope John Paul II, and according to him, the electors were taking a chance, but they made a wonderful choice. No? He had suffered a good deal. He had been a prisoner of the communists, referring to Carols, and this Cardinal Aponte Martinez added that it helped his cause that he came from a suffering country. So, as we all know, that Saint John Paul II came from a communist country. Now, reflection. Let us reflect on the theme of his pontificate. As I have mentioned earlier, Saint John Paul II, which says, "Do not be afraid." Actually, these words, "do not be afraid," appear in the 365 times in the Bible. So perhaps every day of the year we have this praise to remind ourselves. So what does it offers to us? It offers us hope. Do not be afraid. It offers us hope, strength, and courage when we are in doubt or struggling in any way. If God is with you, there is nothing to be afraid of. So I think that's the message of this praise. Do not be afraid. That's the meaning of Emmanuel, God being with us. So that is all for my discussion about this topic. If you have questions or clarifications, feel free to message me. Thank you for listening.